Tarumbeta italia katika anga.
Like this. That is how the trumpet will sound.
Ekonene. So of course Friday kuli flood, and not just Friday. Let's start with Thursday. Thursday kuli flood. Kuna vile mvua ilinyesha ikaacha water at a certain level, then baadaye ikabaki imenyesha on Friday na ikabaki kume flood, and hii story imekuwa divisive sana, and one of the guys of course who decided to jump into this story ni Andrew Kibe. So what did Kibe say? Kibe alisema Nairobi has always been a swamp, when it rains it floods, lakini watu wa Ocha hawawezi elewa, ni kulia tu kwa timeline kama cheesy, be easy. Alafu msanaitwa Polo Kimani akaamua kumreply akasema, sasa we badala ya kukuangalia, I've realized you have nothing of meaning to say when it comes to anything that doesn't involve a JJ and cities ama Solombo. Then akaendelea, 50 years of being alive, you should have already known that Nairobi has an annual budget of 40 billion. 40. Hiyo ni pesa inafaa itengeneze drainage zote na ile imebaki itumike kuingiza wajinga kama nyinyi Gumbaru School. We are suffering because of greed and recklessness, not because Nairobi is a swamp. So hii comment alibaki ameidu, and right now of course ukisema kitu kama hii it becomes a very popular comment, and I think this comment has been what, like the original comment by Andrew Kibe ilikuwa na 743 retweets only, but he ya Polo Kimani iko na 1000 retweets kwa sababu amekasirika, and rightfully so. After kukasirika, so unachikiwa weka mawe, alafu unajua umeamua kaende then aniko na then kuna hii raya finya hiyo masculinity Bosco na chikadogi kama nini, alafu finya hiyo mzee mijinga, alafu barikiwa ndugu, you successfully killed Kenya's foremost stupid person who seeks relevance on humans, sehemu nyeti and ngono. A good thing no one gives a damn about him. Still, yeah. Alafu masculinity wanna be when conversation is not about the JJ. Alafu wameka joka Neanderthal joka kisikiza jo. Alafu ile imebaki nitumike kuingiza wajinga kama nyinyi Gumbaru School. Of course Gumbaru iliandikwa vibaya hapo. Alafu kwa Kibe is full of shit. I stopped listening to him long time ago. Cousin Mbinyano too. So I want to get into what Kibe said. Do I understand why people are angry? Yes. Is it factual that Nairobi kwa swamp? Yes. Ukisomaga hizo stories za Nairobi unasikiaga Nairobi was not supposed to be the capital city. Yes. So kumekuwa na hizo story, haikuwa inafaa kuwa blah blah blah. But whatever happened is Sakaja doing a shitty job. Yes, Sakaja is doing a shitty job. Floods zitaisha kuisha, I don't know, but sasa wacha tucheki like now what happened. So now of course the floods happen, and after the floods happen umsa naitwa nani Sakaja akadisappear, and when he disappeared people were there like what the hell, what has happened, like where are you? And why were people wondering where he is because the number of deaths that happened kwa hii weekend, like ilikuwa reported that originally I think ilikuwa reported that how many deaths had happened, ilikuwa by Saturday ilikuwa 23, alafu by Sunday hizo deaths kasemekana rise zimefika 26. Yes, and that's just sad when you come to think about it. Like it's sad that 26 people had to lose their lives, and it's sad that Nairobi is that, not Nairobi, like Kenya is that dangerous. And I think even the thing that stands out kwa mseka mimi, because mimi of course opinion yangu imekuwa a little bit different with with a lot of people it come to floods. Shida yangu imekuwa ni hiyo emergency response. Like when such a thing happens, how do you respond? How do you make sure that we minimize the casualties? How do we make sure that that people can get home safe? And how do we also make sure that as soon as the rain stops, how do we make sure that the roads can now become passable? That's where the problem is, because unapataga place ka Nairobi, I think when you look at it, you just see people who just like Nairobi imekuwa a city that we take away from, but we rarely give. That's number one. Then another thing that happens with Nairobi is you find that even things that are supposed to make Nairobi money, unapataga hazitengenezei Nairobi pesa. Why? Because we have people in the middle of town wale wana own parking, and we've come to accept that let a few people amongst us benefit, and we are going to say aseni mahasla ule msee huyo katikati ya town anakoga na parking kama 3. Nishaisikia msaki nisifie hiyo kitu like kuna koga na ule ochi yuko na parking car 3, yuko na plot sijui ngapi, and I'm there like good for him. But if I was the governor, mimi ningekuwa mtiaji because hakuna kitu yote unge own. But sasa wacha tucheki, like one of the saddest things nilicheki kwa hii story ni the way people went to look for their loved ones. So wacha tucheki your report.
One after the other, families of people whose skins went missing from Friday began pouring into Nairobi funeral homes. Rose Akamuran's family was among those who thronged the facility in search of their daughter, who did not return home. Her body was discovered 12 hours later near Uhuru Park.
Now, Rose Akamran's body was retrieved from this location. That pipe made the body of Rose Akamran be discovered yesterday at around 10.
It was too painful to bear for her sister Elizabeth.
Mimi ndio nilikuwa nakaa na yeye Kawangware. Alitoka kwa nyumba Friday akienda kazi, akikuja mpaka town. Hiyo mafuriko yenye ilikuwa ndio alipatikana Uhuru Park kama imepotesha maisha yake.
Hii kitu nimekuwa nikisikia that even Uhuru Park ili flood, and I don't know if kama ni ile park ya Uhuru Park, ile place iko na maji ilienda piko overrun by water, but nilisikia story ya Uhuru Park ilikuwa like ili flood, and it just shows you how much rain rained on that day, and also how unprepared we were. Because I remember msana itwa Sakaja kibonga juu ya boats. I think maybe that was the time to unleash the boats if they were there. But tuendele.
The family of Philip Omondi, known to friends as Dimore, is also in mourning. Philip's car was swept away near Timol. His father, James Muga, recalled the last phone call he had with his son.
Wakatoka na manager yao wakiwa anaenda. So kufika hiyo saa 2 pia manager yao pia akapiga simu huko. Akaambia wafanyakazi mahali tuko ni mahali kubaya. Mvua imejaa hapa na tuko area ya Timon.
Another thing, he come to Gariku was swept away. I don't know, but kuna hii kitu nilikuwa naisikiaga sana nikiwa mtoi, and I used to believe it. That gari ni chuma, and chuma haiwezi so unapataka kuna watu wengi sana who still risk it when there's too much rain, because it's not just about even the car being damaged, it's about you yourself. Like cars are swept away, and that's why unacheki kama hiyo ndai, I think it's a Mark X ilikuwa swept away, and it's a very sad situation, because I think saizi tumefika level whereby saizi tusha identify those roads, like tunajua Thika Road, tunajua what, and I think literally it's reached a level where if there is that amount of rain, you should look for a safe place to park. And kama kuna, I think saizi ni time ya kwanza ku identify hizi mahoteli, ujue ni hoteli gani inaga flooding kwa parking, and you can just spend that night. It might cost you even 20 or 30,000 shillings, but if it's going to save you your life, let's do that. If you have to take your car, nupate kuna place tao ila kuflood, and you just sleep in the car for that night, ile design wasofanyaga majuu, you might reach that level. Kuna wase niko sure kwa comment atakuwa, why can't you have to do that and the county can do. Kuna vitu zingine, it's not about being right. I'd rather be wrong and alive than right and dead. Najua, and kusaizi tuko kwa hiyo period yela everyone wants to be right, and sometimes msemaga like wacha tu niishi, let me live to fight another day. That's the key word, live to fight another day. Na cheki kama saizi vile I think hiyo alert ya Kenya Meteorological Department is ending today 9th. From now this 9th kuendelea tunaanza kuzusha, now we want change, we want all these things, but the main thing is to stay alive long enough to see that change.
So tujafika na tujui tutafika saa ngapi.
But not all families left with answers. Beatrice Akinyi, a tea vendor at the popular Grogan garages along Kirinyaga Road, is still missing. Her brother Edward Tuju explains their desperate search.
Hatujui kama amekufa ama amepelekwa na maji ama amepelekwa hospitali, bado hatujajua. Sasa tumekuja hapa City Mortuary kumtafuta na tumeambiwa yuko hapa.
Kitu saa 6 tena nikampigia, uko aje? Akaniambia kwa saa hii maji bado imejaa, niko juu ya meza.
So before that tuendelee, hii kitu imenikumbusha kitu ingine. Early this year nilido a certain piece where I was talking about Nairobi, and there was this big pothole. Kuna pothole fulani ukitoka inaitwa nini? Ukitoka Uhuru Park. It's a very big pothole, but it's not an actual pothole. It's a manhole. I'd not be surprised there's a Kenyan who fell in that manhole on Friday. Your manhole, it's so big. And these are the things where, like when I talk of Sakaja's incompetence, because you'll hear me, I'll be like, could he have stopped the floods? Not really. Could he have made Nairobi safer? Yes. How do you make Nairobi safer? Manholes. Manholes should be covered. It should not be. That's number one. Number two, sewages. Like hii place na stay, ukomeko ukinisikiza, umesikia nikibonga juu ya sewages. I'm always talking about the sewages. They're still open. Even till right now, your sewage bado iko. And you wonder, ule fala ni MCA wa hii area, anataka kurun for MP wa Lang'ata. Ati just because I may have a handshake na Jalango, I'm supposed to just jump on board. And that's some bullshit. Because I'm not boarding. Chatuendelee.
Nimeshika roof. Na hii maji inatuua. Haki, uniombe tu, hii maji inanipeleka. Kufika kitu saa 7 kupiga simu ilikuwa mteja.
Other missing persons include Baraka Safari, 30 years, swept away in Juja Farm. 4-year-old Rain Taji, carried off by the waters, while his mother Naomi Mudhine survived and now recovers at Mama Lucy Hospital. 2 other victims were believed to have been electrocuted, while others were discovered along the Nairobi River in Lakisama and Dandora. Families are now urging the government to step in, not only to help them cope with the loss, but to address the drainage system to avert a repeat of the disaster.
Nachiki sasa, hii ndio part nachiki na wasiuko sana na mimi ama wasiu jam na mimi nikisema. This is not about the drainage system. This is about us coming up with emergency response. Floods, as we know them, and mimi nasemaga, like, I love science and understand nature. Nature will always do its thing. The main thing is, how do we come up with, sasa tunajua around the area the floods happen. Around this place, these are the most dangerous zones. What do? We make sure that kuna emergency around your area, and somehow we come up with ways where people can get home safe. That's the first thing. Then we can try and come up with drainage systems. Do we have money to come up with a drainage system like in Japan? Yes, we do. But that money is lost in corruption. So we can change these things, but before we change them, let's not just come up na hiyo kitu, because it's people make it look very simple. That we come up with this magical drainage system, which I don't know kama hizo tunnels zitakuwa zikifika hapa so that they can take in all the water, because when you have a water ile na burst mpaka kutoka kwa river, it shows you the water level. So we need to come up with, how do we save people? How do we make sure that people get home safe? And the only way to come up with that is to, unajua, ile come up with the solutions right now. Alafu, yes, we can do the drainage system. Na kuna nikisikiza Sakaja, and I was like, damn, okay. Ile alibonga juu ya story za Ojijo Road. Kuna best yangu anaitwa Jijo. Alikuwa anaishi Ojijo Road. And of course alienda pakihama, but naweza taka kujua, because nisikia huyu fala kibonga juu ati the fact that Ojijo Road does not have floods anymore. They're like, okay, damn. And yes, before tusikiza Sakaja, if you want to know Sakaja is doing badly, even umsanitwa Karauri, kumbuka majuzi jo vile tulikuwa on Karauri jo, ilikuwa like, iko nene Karauri, ulikuwa unafanya nini wewe? Uko na siri. Umse alikuwa pia na bonga mbaya juu ya Sakaja. Ita eneo ilifanya nikajua jo Sakaja is doing badly, mpaka even this dude who should be trying to stay off the news is there like, iko nene.
Shida ya uongozi, ukweli uongo. Kuna kitu nimekuwa nikisema kutoka nianze siasa. Hatuwezi kuwa na zile shida tulikuwa nazo kutoka kitambo, tuko nazo mpaka leo, si ndio? Hatuwezi kukua kila wakati kukinyesha watu wanakufa, si ndio kweli? Hatuwezi kuwa kila wakati kukinyesha watu hawawezi kupitia kwa mabarabara. Kwa hivyo hizo ni shida zingine, tuchakue viongozi wanawezana na hiyo kazi.
I think hizi mwiki Kasarani zinakuwaga very unsafe. And you guy, man, you're a billionaire. You can do something about it, even on a personal level. These things are only very expensive for the government because the government is trying to steal. But if you are to decide to be like, you know what, I can make mwiki safer, I think you can make mwiki safer. And I think in ile kitu kotna have na ule fresh mzungu, the conversation we were having with him, ile alikuwa na bonga juu ya Kenya, there are so many rich people but they never do anything ya philanthropy. And this guy is a perfect example. This guy is so freaking rich. I'm sure jana peke yake ametengeneza maybe over even 2 million shillings. Alafu yuko hapa with no solution. Just talking about hatuwezi. You have enough money to lobby, or you have enough money to be like, you know what, if they can't do it for the whole of Nairobi, let me just do something for my constituents.
Tuanze kuchagua viongozi wanajua kufanya ile kazi wamepewa.
Na kati mumeshikilia karauri asante mbele. Watu wa Kasarani wameamua. Sasa kama watu wa Kasarani wameamua, sisi ni kina nani? Sisi ni kina nani?
Of course kwa nado ya karauri wagapoa jo, watu wataulizana sisi ni akina nani? But sasa wacha to come back to Sakaja. So Sakaja, of course, his situation may happen, and he's the governor. So as the governor, he has to show like a certain form of leadership. And what happens with him is sometimes he says these very dumb things. So nakumbuka nikimwatch, alafu the first thing that alibonga juu yake, alibaki ameturudisha back to 1997, which of course I remember 1997, I remember El Nino, I remember the floods, I remember all that. But right now you are the governor, and as the governor, one thing that you have to do is you have to show some form of leadership, and you have to understand that right now people are so emotional and no one is being rational right now. So you have to be the guy who knows how not to, najua, things to say and things not to say. Wacha tumsikize.
Governor, let me get to that in a moment. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yes.
I left Hot 96 at about 7:05, 7:10.
Yeah.
Got into my car. I was driving home. Friday night, huh? It was pouring. It was pissing down with rain.
Very heavy, the heaviest rainfall in a lot.
I got home at midnight.
Yeah.
8 kilometers. I got home at midnight. People left here at 6. They got home at 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's terrible, Governor.
But we must solve it. You know, this is not a problem that has just started.
But you know what, Gov? You know, if you were in Japan and you were the county governor of a county in Japan, you'd have resigned.
It don't solve it. You know, it's a problem that's been there for long. I remember being stuck during the El Nino rains as a child in school. Yeah. And being marooned for hours until very late at night in 1997. Jeff, leadership is to provide solutions. Leadership is not about...
So ukisema leadership is to provide solutions, are you saying that those Japanese leaders who resign are not providing solutions? Because Japan inakuwaga serious. Nakumbuka ile ilikuwa ni time train ilichelewa. Was it by a minute ama a few seconds? And the minister for transport aliend up akiresign. Nacheki, because it's about service, and if the people feel like you're not doing your job, like right now, if you have to look at approval ratings za Sakaja, they are super low, and they've been super low even before the floods. Mimi nimekuwa nikicriticize Sakaja for such a long time because I think he's clueless. When I hear the governor of Nairobi talking about chapatis, people will be like, oh, what about these kids? Oh, they are so poor, they need this food. And I'll be like, I came from that. I was poor and sikuwa napata lunch nikienda chuo, ilikuwa ni nini, but I still, somehow our parents used to make it work. There were other governors before Sakaja. Let's be honest. Like, if you're to be truly honest, I've never heard anyone be like, what if the county was giving kids food in school? Is it a good initiative? Yes. Is it the initiative to do right now? No. We need to do that after we've taken care of the bigger problems in Nairobi. And history ya chapati machine, these are things just for, these are avenues of corruption. Kumbuka ile time Sakaja hakuwa nasikizana na Sifuna, because I don't know kama nasikizana siku hizi. I'll be honest, because Sifuna used to whoop this guy and then just went quiet. Hizo siku na kwa Sifuna was questioning hiyo dish in a county program. He was like, there's some bullshit happening here. But wacha tuendelee.
Leadership is not about blaming. Leadership is not about just, you know, Jeff, we have to make tough decisions. The same people who cry foul when we evict those on the riparian are the same ones now making noise. Yeah. Jeff, their houses. I saw a member of parliament, an aspirant, showing First Avenue Parklands, where you've canalized the water. We must sit with those developers and say, look, something's got to give.
Machiki story, sit down with developers. It's either they've broken the law or they've not broken the law. If not, they've not broken the law, you work around that. If they've broken the law, nakumbuka nishabonga juu story ile. I don't know if I shared the building, but I remember nikibonga juu yake where I saw a building in Parklands ile imefanya that beacon to beacon shit, where you want to live in Parklands and it looks like Isili, and not Isili ya Mawalalo, Isili ya kitambo. Najua ukiendaga Isili utacheki majina za Isili na kwa ni General Waroinge, if I'm not wrong. Ama yes, I think Isili ndio kuna General Waroinge, si General Madhenge. But kuna kina Moratina Road, kuna Captain Nganga Street. Isili na kwa jina mob sana za Kisaperi. So kuna ile Isili ya Kisaperi, nacheki, and kunao ma landlord original wa Kisaperi. Kaka kulikuwa na landlord fulani place nilikuwa na stay, Isich, ilikuwa owned na lawyer fulani. I don't know if that building is still there. I need to tunanid kupitia hapo. Amushindaga nikiambia Ian Joyo story. Tunanid kupitia hapo. And that building was what ule tulikaa chini na an architect hapa alita a sick building. There was no sunshine. Tuko tunatoka gapo tunashika macho hivi. Now you want to live in Parklands, na utoke ujishike macho hivi. Just so to say that you live in Parklands. So Kenyans have to also take responsibility for this bullshit. Hakuna vile you're going to pay like a lot of money for rent and you're living in a house that when you're living you have to block your eyes. It means you're stupid. That's how I can put it. Like, no, you can't do that. You have to live in a place that you enjoy. That ukitoka pale uko zile za yes man, I love this place. The sun is shining. I can see this. Hiyo ndio kitu inafaa ku happen. But as long as you wenyewe tunakubaliwa nonsense, tutakubaliwa nonsense. Basi nachiki hapa, the governor is negotiating na wase. Napata wase wamegrab part of public land, but he's ready to sit down with them. And that's what money brings you. Hapa nikibonga jia, kuna ile clip, kome kwa kicheki maya analysis zangu, kuna clip ya buda fulani alikuwa na compare China na US. Akisema that China, the system has been like hijacked by oligarchs. It's the same thing as Kenya, where you always have to negotiate with them. At some point you have to be like, ekonene, kaende. What's better for the city? Is it for one person to count losses? Ama is it for the whole city to count losses? You have to make the choice, and the choice won't be beautiful. And this is where unapataga wale wase wale wanafikiria they'll be billionaires tomorrow. Wako like, wewe uoni kama msee ameinvest all this. If you invested it the wrong way, the building has to come down. The city has to always come first. The city has how many residents? Millions. If one person has to cry for 1 million people to be happy, let the one person cry.
You know, and so it's a problem of our own making. A lot of what blocks the drainage, and we've tried, you know, we've hired 4,500 Green Army who are out there and clogging every single day, but who dumps in those, drains? Who is littering in those drains? We provided bins, but you'll still see there's a responsibility that all of us must bear. But we'll sort it out once and for all. You know, we must be the generation that sorts out the problem, not remembers the problem and leaves it for somebody else.
Okay, you mentioned...
So nchiki hapa, anabonga jua 1997, and then goes ahead to tell us that we have to be the generation that solves the problem. So you can't have it both ways. You're talking about 1997. Yes, I remember the El Nino. Hata kuna album ya hip hop ilibaki imetokea juu ya El Nino, because I remember that point. It was crazy kabisa. So yes, but now what are the solutions? So that's one of the things that he said, which I found to be very like tone deaf right now, considering what people are doing. I know Kenyans do a lot of bullshit. Na kwa kibonga jia, kuna siku I think tulikuwa na Ian, ile siku kutoka sijui wapi, tunaona fala fulani na kulamiwa, afu ana speed kutoka kwa Kenya bus. Kosileza, how does this make sense? Like common sense too. But so we have that. Are Kenyans misbehaving? Yes, they are misbehaving. But another thing, wacha tumsikie. Kuna zile vitu pia alikuwa na bonga, zile ni mpaka unataka kumguza umwambie like, good, do you know you're the governor? You have to make the decisions. And especially I always say there's nothing as sweet as people calling you one term, because then you can go all out. You can do whatever you want to do, and you know, like you can work. You've already, according to Mimi, bribed your MCAs. Baka right now they can't impeach you. Now do your freaking job. If it ends up as a one term, it ends up as a one term, but you can do something about it. Wacha tusikie vile aliendelea kubonga. Hapo utafikiria he's not the governor.
I'll give an example. I was with my colleague, the mayor of Paris in Nairobi. She came here and I took her to one of our developments in Pangani. And she said, how much is your budget? And I told her around 33 to 40 billion Kenya shillings. She kept quiet for a while, converted it. Then asked me, how many people do you have? I said, 7 million people. And she's like, how do you do it? So I asked her, how much is yours? Paris has 2 million people. Her budget is equivalent of 1.5 trillion shillings. So you want that lifestyle without paying what needs to be paid today as a city. I think we must also look at our responsibility as Nairobians.
So why don't you enforce that, Gov? You're in charge. Why enforce that?
There's some regulation.
Mechikio part, anauliza, why don't you enforce that? Anabonga jua, sisi ka Nairobi tunataka the lifestyle, but we are not ready to pay for it. And then he's being asked, why doesn't he enforce that? He even, kuna at a point where he talks about vile, like history ya land rates, where place keja moja, tuseme ikuwa inalipa land rates za 20k. Someone builds an apartment with 60 houses and they're still paying 20k. And he's there talking about, oh, we have to do this, we have to do... Like, you have to sit down with the MCAs. Na nyina ma MCAs mukam up na law. Na the law is, nyindo mna run Nairobi. The law is, kama kuna keja 60 hapa, since kulikuwa na keja moja hapa, the rates za hii lazima zikuwe 60 times. Wata wasa wanaishi kwa hizo apartments watoe kidogo kidogo, but yes, it has to be. Is it painful? As someone who's planning to maybe one day be able to afford an apartment, yes, it is. Is it necessary? Yes, it's necessary. But haizi kuwa barabara iko inatumika na mtu mmoja, inatumika na watu 60, na the repercussions are still the same. Or at least, let it be half. Let it even be a quarter. Ikue 60, sasa mnalipa do ya watu 15. It's better, because mnajitetea watu wengine wako kwa hewa. But to still pay the same, umse, anabonga, like, you're the governor, man. Give me solutions. Tell me what you're going to do. Konene, najua mwaka ni mpya, lakini injili ni ile ile, Lemfi. So, kama uko US, uko UK, uko Canada, ama uko the UAE, na unatry kutuma do Kenya, baki umechangamka, ingia Lemfi, utabaki umepata the most competitive rates. Lakini apart from that, on your first transaction ya $100 or more, utapata $20 sign up reward. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, chap chap, ingia Lemfi. Lemfi, international payments for everyone. Ekonene. And make some hard decisions that are going to be unpopular, but are good for the city. But wacha tuendelee.
There's some regulations that we're waiting for on the National Rating Act that was passed in 2024 and got into effect 2025. Because I can auction you, I can collect rent on your behalf, but the regulations are needed, so people went to court. And that's why we're engaging with the minister. You see, now I have a platform every 2 weeks to sit down with that PS and say, where are the regulations? Or use these draft regulations. There is no quick fix for this city, Jeff. It is not possible.
There's a quick fix. You and the governor, you and the president sit down and you decide to sign some form of cooperation. Right now, unatuambia these cases are being taken to court. What would happen is the president needs to talk to the judiciary and then be like, you know what, Nairobi is under an emergency situation. So all the cases that are being heard have to be heard first. History at e case itakuwa mentioned during the year 2020, whatever, that has to end. Right now, it's an emergency. We have to come up with solutions. Like, how do we finish these cases as soon as possible? And in the process, there has to be someone checking accounts zao my judges, because the judges will be bribed, and then story like the status quo is maintained. So there has to be like different levels of accountability. Yes, but tuendelee.
There's no quick fix.
Okay, so you ran for governor.
Yes.
After being senator.
Yeah.
Did you think the job would be this daunting?
I knew it.
You knew?
I mean, I was born in this city. A lot of what we're doing is catching up with how derelict it was from 1992. When multipartyism came in and KANU lost control of Nairobi, they let it go. That's why I'm struggling with the president to build classrooms. We have only 210 schools in a county of 17 constituencies. Most of the rural count constituencies have 150 ATC. Children are in informal schools. Many of them have been marooned. I was talking to Wakono Appet. You know what Appet means?
Yeah.
Alternative provision of basic education.
Correct.
And he's showing me the schools in Kawangware. They don't have any capitation. They don't have that infrastructure. We're doing 5,000 classrooms with the president. That's what we're going around. These interventions, this affirmative action for the city is necessary. And I'm glad that people can now see that, yes, the city is growing. We're dealing with a generational infrastructure deficit. Drainage built for 500,000 people. You know, planning, you know, and development control for a smaller city than we have today. But the reality is we can't just whine, we have to do it.
You're the governor. You can't tell me that we can't just whine. You tell me that this is what we're going to do. So the more niko nasikiza Sakaja kwa hii interview, the more I was getting frustrated because I could hear him talk about stuff and I'm there like, you're the governor, najua, and as the governor, you have to, usiniambia that you're ready to make unpopular decisions. Make the unpopular decisions. You know why? Because right now, you have the political goodwill. Nachiki, wase saa hizi, people want change. People want a better city. So since people want a better city and people are complaining, right now ukianza kutuambia that, you know what, kuna hii building, iko hapa, na hii building ina block maji, ya hii place, na hii building ndio inafanya, hii place kuna flood. What's going to happen is you're going to have those few people who believe that they're going to be billionaires who are going to complain. But the rest of us, tutakuwa zile like, do what you have to do. Why? Because tunajuaga history ya kuwa billionaire is an impossible dream for a lot of us. Najua, it's never going to happen. So history ya kupiti billionaires who've most probably gotten that through crooked means, hiyo ni hawa watu. Me, I look at what's the collective good ya Nairobi. This is what Nairobi needs. So nikiangalia hizi ma places kama tuangalia wapi, tuangalia kama Parklands for example. Nicheki mpaka like Parklands residents wametokea. Nicheki pale Wahindi jo wanasaidia ku clear drainage and they lie to themselves that if they clear that it's going to help them next time. But it's not going to help them. It's not going to help them. Why? Because the city is unplanned. The city is history of beacon to beacon. That nonsense is everywhere. And apart from that is nicheki like roads zimekuwa destroyed and there is no plan. There needs to be like crazy, like place kama South Sea imefika level where according to mimi, a place like kama South Sea, the only way to come up with a drainage system that works for South Sea ni literally kuchimba mabarabara. Na hizi barabara mpya tunatengeneza zinafaa kutengenezwa design like chini, maji inapita huko chini. Yes, just for them to store maji. Kuzini place inajulikana ina flood. Kuna place inaitwa Kenya Water. Mbele ya Kenya Water there is always a flood on that road. That road is rough. Why? Ile time una repair, kwa nini? Msi just dig, make a hole, tuweke hizi pipes za maji, za drainage, tuzidrill juu, tuweke lami na tuache hizo space za maji kuingia time inanyesha. And ita handle part of the floods. Will it still flood? Yes. Will it be flood mpaka inafikia watu hii level? No, because a lot of the water itabaki hapo chini. Alafu maybe we can think of how do we now take this water that iko hapa chini, because of course kukinyesha, if you don't move that water it's going to be a problem. And that's where unapata vile niko napatia na example ya Majuu, unapataga kuna trucks zinakuja kusaka maji after floods. Inakaa inasak hiyo maji, alafu we take that maji kwa place ya kuoshwa, inabaki imekliniwa and then inakuja kwa system, tunaikunywa and we keep it moving. That's what we need to do. But are we ready to do all these things? No. Are we ready for hizo scientific solutions? No. So I was listening to Sakaja and I was actually frustrated because first of all akabonga juu story ya kukaa chini na developers. Akabonga juu hata vile alifight na watu juu ya land rates. So walikuwa like hii land yangu iko worth how this much, alafu akaambia wasi sawa, since land yako iko worth hii pesa kidogo, basi situkulipe hiyo pesa alafu tupatie mse mwingine. Wasa wakasema zizi and people stopped complaining. So you look at all those things and you're there like so can Nairobi be saved from these floods? I don't know. Can the situation be made better? Yes, the situation can be made better. Will the situation be made better? I don't know. Because cooperation, I think for this cooperation to work, one of the things that should have happened is try and imagine if Charlene's Bentley was caught in a flood. Najua nukule Bentley ya Charlene. What if that was caught in a flood and it got really destroyed? Maybe if she cried to her father, maybe her father would think about the 17 billion. Because one of the things Ilomsa aliulizwa anafilaje juu ya State House kutumia 17 billion while Nairobi haina drainage. And of course he had to give a very diplomatic answer.
Let's move on.
Quite upset.
I am upset.
SMS.
This is an SMS. Sakaja knows William Ruto uses 17 billion
every year
in State House, yet Nairobi lacks drainage.
You see, in the division of revenue and our laws under Chapter 12 of the Constitution, there's the vertical division between national government and county government. And counties now got around 400 billion. National gets its budget. What they do, how they appropriate it in the National Assembly is not for counties to look into. As we take what they've given us as counties and we work on. So if they have prioritized different engagements with all the state lodges and the state houses around the country, I'm in no place to intervene on that.
Okay. I don't know, man. Ruto, of course, umse kumtetena kwa gahad sana. How you use 17 billion at State House? That's... Alafu you compare the rest of the country. Tunatumia 17 billion. Why? Because we need fancy curtains, we need fancy couches, we need all this nonsense that makes the president happy. It's pathetic, but of course, you 17 billion akiambiwa say that he's building a church. A lot of Kenyans are going to forgive him for that. So it's nonsense, man, and it's pathetic. It's pathetic kabisa. And nikimalizia hii story ya nani, kuna hii video nilicheki juu ya China and it reminded me of nishai quote, I think ilikuwa ni Plato ndio msee alikuwa anasema that hafikiri that everyone should be allowed to vote. And sometimes it makes me wonder if if Moi and Kibaki Moi and Kenyatta were good at their jobs, how far would Kenya be? Kuna msee hapa aliulizwa juu ya China and he tried breaking down China in such an interesting way, unajua, and I think ilifanya nikajiuliza what if hiyo time, kwa sababu mafala wawili walikuwa na like they could have developed Kenya into anything that they wished, but of course they were too greedy. Wacha tusikize mse.
Why China is a one-party system? Because you are idiot. China is a 9-party system. Why China don't vote every 4 years to select who can be president? Because you are idiot. We don't want a bunch of idiots to vote who can be president every 4 years. Then you got Sleepy Joe and crazy Donald Trump. Just because you can vote every 4 years does not mean that is real democracy. That system is very easy to be hijacked by the oligarchs. Every single country in this world, so-called democratic country, has turned into a oligarchy country. Anyone till today still cannot see through this. You are the idiot I'm talking about.
Kamsoni bamba sana. Yo dutu hizi video kiongea mbaya. So, unasikia vile anasema that hakuna haja ya elections every 4 years if it's idiots voting. Idiots, of course, in America ended up voting for Trump. Trump amewapeleka war. Wengi wanaenda kudedi. Trump anaanza kufanya economy of the world collapse because the Strait of Hormuz kiendelea vile iko. Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa nafaa kwenda kwa China and I remember nilikuwa nauliza AI jana that what's happening to Qatar flights, and so far flights zote za Qatar zimekuwa cancelled. Do I want to travel through Kenya Airways, spend 16 hours huko juu bila internet? I don't think I want to do that, man. So I'm thinking of even cancelling the trip because of that idiot that Americans decided to vote for. Of course, it's a personal inconvenience, but try and imagine saa hizi hakuna flights like Middle East, Dubai, tourism, economy yao inaenda kuumia kabisa. They can't sell oil because the Strait of Hormuz kuna vile inafungwa. They can't sell like enough oil, that is. Tourism, what they were known for, haiko. Angalia Bahrain, ni cheki building fulani imetandikwa hapo. Qatar do flights zote zao chini. Alafu na chiki China wakiulizwa juu story yote. The Chinese on the other side, because of course hakuna idiots running the country. They're all asking for peace. they're asking for this, they're asking for this. So do I love democracy? Yes. Do I feel like if I trusted enough Kenyans, and I trusted that there were enough Kenyans who have Kenya's goodwill at heart, the Kenyans who don't want to make themselves rich, would I like do that? Nini? Like trade democracy for that? Yes. Because that would mean that people like Gachagua would never find themselves anywhere close to power. People like Ruto would never find themselves anywhere close to power. Why? Because anyone who goes into public service would go there for the public. But the fact that that can't happen is the reason why we take what we have. And what we have is democracy. And in this democracy, you're going to have idiots for governors. You're going to have clowns. Nacheki, when you have someone who studied in the University of North Texas launching a tap. But sasa now you see, when the Chinese are looking at America, they see Americans are idiots who vote in idiots. So I guess, sisi nangalia America, of course, Trump has always been an idiot. But yeah, it is what it is, man. Lately nimekuwa nikiongea mbaya juu ya Trump. Hivi saa yangu utakubaliwa kuingia ile nchi kweli? I don't know. Do I really care? Not really. Iko nene.